Hello everybody! If you may or may not know, a few days ago Jagex re-released RuneScape Classic to the public. If you're a member, log in before it's closed again. Anyway, RuneScape is a very unique MMO and has a long history behind it. This list here only scratches the surface, but hopefully it'll give you some insight into the world of RuneScape Classic. Before I start though, this video contains my personal opinion, so don't be sad if your classic facts didn't make it into the list. I present to you the top 15 most interesting RuneScape Classic facts. Number 15. Necromancy. Did you know that summoning was planned all the way back in Classic? Well, it was just under a different name at the time, Necromancy. Not much is known about the skill besides that an unreleased rune, the Life Rune, was going to be used for it. Players discovered the existence of the rune while digging through the game's files. Number 14. Duel anyone, anywhere. In RuneScape Classic, it's possible to fight anyone you want, anywhere. Of course, they have to accept the duel offer first, though. If you do lose, though, you do not lose any of your items. Number 13. The Staff of Iban. The Staff of Iban is a pretty decently known item in RuneScape. You can use it to cast Iban Blast against enemies. But what if you could only do this 25 times before recharging? Well, this is exactly what it's like in Classic. Plus, it can take almost 15 minutes to get back to the altar to recharge it. Number 12. Retreating. Let's say you're a level 20 and you accidentally end up attacking a level 80 monster. There's almost no way for you to escape. You have to fight 3 full rounds of combat before you can run away from whatever or whoever you're fighting. Number 11. No skilling animations. RuneScape Classic was a simpler time. Back then, to find out what skill someone was training, you just needed to look directly above their head. It was a time before the need to guess which Solomon's Store animation they were using. Number 10. Fatigue. Imagine if you had to actually rest every couple minutes or else you wouldn't be able to gain any more XP. Well, you did. While training, your fatigue would grow until it hit 100%. At 100%, you were required to rest using a sleeping bag, hammock, or bed. This was mostly to prevent people from cheating, but failed due to people using other cheats to sleep for them. Number 9. Alcarid. No, that is not a typo. This is how Alcarid was originally spelled. Alcarid was not available in RuneScape Classic during the first 2 weeks, but was added afterwards. Before it was released, there was actually just a large ocean in its place. Number 8. Rune equipment. Did you know Rune was almost purple? Before the actual release of Rune equipment, a few images existed of it being a purplish color. Although Rune did go on to be a bright cyan color, it became much darker with the release of RuneScape 2. Number 7. Ghost Town. When RuneScape Classic was still being created, Edgeville was known as Ghost Town. It was later renamed when the Wilderness was released. If you ask me, its original name was quite fitting. If it wasn't for how close it is to the Grand Exchange and its easy bank access, I doubt many players would still visit it. Number 6. Good and evil skills. Back in the early days of RuneScape Classic, prayer and magic were 4 different skills. There was good prayer, good magic, and evil magic. Evil magic contained spells such as Confuse and Fear, while good magic had Burst of Strength and Windbolt. I'm assuming for the sake of simplicity they combined them to just 2 skills. The update that combined them also added a variety of new spells and prayers to use. Number 5. Carpentry. Carpentry was a skill that was actually never released to Classic. Although you could view it in your stat window, there was no way to train the skill. As you will later learn, it was related to building houses in-game. Although the skill didn't exist in Classic, it was released in RuneScape 2 under a new name, Construction. Number 4. RuneScape Classic was not the first version of RuneScape. Many veterans already know this fact, but for those of you who don't, there was a game that came before Classic. When the beta version of the game was released, it was only open for 1 week. Due to this short period of time, there are very few screenshots available of the game. At its release, only 1 shop existed and sold only 10 items. Number 3. Only 1 person can talk to a banker or NPC at once. Due to this, massive crowds would form outside banks and shops while people waited their turn. I doubt the Gower brothers ever expected their game to get this popular. Number 2. Player housing. Speaking of the game getting to a higher popularity, player housing almost existed in RuneScape. You may be thinking, but it already does. What I mean by player housing is I mean an actual village where you can purchase the house to live in rather than teleporting through a portal. This idea was very quickly scrapped after the game kept growing. Number 1. Before the Wilderness. RuneScape Classic didn't always have the wilderness. Before it existed, you could PK anywhere. The only safe zones were inside of banks and Lumbridge. You could only PK players who were either 5 levels above you, below you, or in between those numbers. Luckily, if you didn't like PKing, you could choose to be a PKer or non-PKer at sign-up. If you ask me, this sounds quite a bit similar to the newly released Darkscape. Hopefully this video taught you something about RuneScape Classic that you didn't already know. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like or subscribe if you'd like to see more content similar to this. That's all for now, and see you in RuneScape.